Friday, April 8th, 2022. There's this guy on here, never heard of him before. Again, he's in a different scope, a different arena. He's a chef. He talks about doctorate and graduate degrees for chefs. I'm like, really? They actually go that high in education? Why not just stay at associates or bachelors? Like, how competitive is chefs? Again, I never went into the chef industry, but apparently he's got this big thing called Big Restaurant Bet. He's a white guy, but he ends his operation or his mission with BET, and there's a whole lot of Blackbriar in there. Oh my God. It's like the black entertainment terrestrials. I'm like looking at who he even is giving opportunity to, and I'm like, again, why am I not even, I haven't even been offered, I don't even know how one acquires a doctorate or a graduate, anything, a certificate, to even compete in that. At the Melody and Musicians of Bach, being BACH, and the Lore Company of LORE. I'm just curious. I know that the only way you eat an elephant at Elefantes Grandes is one bite at a time. Now, is that BITE or BYTE in some alternate source? I'm just curious. Never heard of this guy, Jeffrey. He's in some other arena. He's only catering and investing in some dangerous menu inside of America in what comes after this dangerous competition. I was thinking today, SEA, is that Southeast Asia's like code op? Because like, who gave them claim on the entire sea? Or the word sea for the sound at SEA? I'm just asking Eastern Athletics. Eastern Athletics University, perhaps. Because I know there's one Europe. It's EU, and then there's an ROPE at the end of it for anchor line in phonetics and Phoenician. So there's that. Then it takes me to a rabbi who's wearing Polish and Ukraine and a yarmulke, or at least that's the special name of the specialness that he wears and adorns, from what I've been able to ascertain from the humans I've had exposure to in very, very little. When they asked me to participate, I did. But again, the crossover to teach me their ways, or again, hasn't been very much. So whatever. He did say something about Egypt, and they were slaves there, and they were let out, and they flee, FLEE. I'm like, that's a very Korean name, but all right. So was it Egypt, or was that Korean? Just those three letters. I use them for a non-Korean purpose, but whatever. In Daniel. So that got confusing, but he was handing out lollipops for the Ukrainians that came in this huge refugee crisis that someone created, which is very confusing. And then the Gma3 this morning puts on this experimental, like this golden retriever. They made a square and let the golden retriever put its snout to look in, because there were some chicks that were hatched and the golden retriever was allowed to put its face in and snout in and look at the chicks and how they were progressing. Like Hound in the Hen House is what they said on the TV. That was interesting. Because which way is it? At Treadstone and Blackbriar in some Jason Bourne movie, or I think it was Bourne Supremacy on the TV. For I don't know all of the linkage, but they're educating me at my son got I didn't even get a degree, but my son got an associate's degree for criminal justice, just like a golden retriever snout in, a hound in the hen house of criminally organized in this us system of U.S. Because today some other stuff went on menu and diets of I don't even recognize the place anymore. Lou, by the way, got a phone call. Linda went into a local store. My son's phone broke, the front of it. So they repaired it for $99. And then all of a sudden they took her credit card and started charging her $99 a month in some policy they just tacked on in their Ponzi schemes that the humans are doing in some Blackbriar. And then Lou's like, oh, I love my best laundromat rep, my best this. And I was like, you know, Lou, you wear your crown of thorns real well on your way out. And yesterday I saw on the TV, somebody had this quote. They're like, it's like eating Captain Crunch and then drinking milk after, something like that. I'm paraphrasing or whatever. But I'm like, that's kind of like whatever at Chaser, Lou. I was like, get out of here. I was like, I'm tired of listening to your crown of thorns. So hang on a sec.
This is about really taking the next step to your own dream.
This is how I feel Manure got started at Principality that had the money and disseminated it and caused real seedling and gardening problems at Maneuver inside this whatever I'm in for a maturation and gestational whatever in genealogy and spatial problem. It looks very wrong on a lot of levels, like investing and creating new problems. And then there's some ETF, which is electronic transfer of funds, that's involved. And that gave rise to all sorts of new timing health issues, new portfolio issues. There's this thing that they have up that they show about not like boycotting fossil fuels. I'm like, anybody get a real definition on what fossil means? Between Eastern Athletics, the sea, and all the fish and sardines, it gets really confusing.
It's about owning your own restaurant.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. So, now that you're all here,
it sounds good in the kitchen at prep, but when it goes into connecting the dots, it's actually been a real problem with turnout and not enough seating and capital at Venture and Adventure, with oversight committee wanting real answers from the like den of thieves.
I need to know what makes you tick. I want a simple bite of food that describes the vision of your restaurant on a plate.
Okay.
And we're going to judge on taste, visual presentation. It's going to make me want to invest into you.
They've got single bite at this point. I've got an elephant. Es gris grandes.
This is not a game. This is real life. Just one bite of food? Jeffrey, that's a lot of pressure, man. Welcome back. That was a clip from the new Food Network show, Big Restaurant Bet. The series follows 8 chefs as they compete to win $250,000 contract to help them open their dream restaurant, all courtesy of our friend. Yes, our friend, Jeffrey Zakarian. He is here. My man. How are you? Look at how sharp you look. Oh.
Great, I don't need details on that. This looks very Blackbriar in thorns at the moment.
Legal advocate, as a trial judge, and as a judge on a court of appeal.
But again, I never got to judge level because judges before my arrival had me locked in a POA MIA situation with public school at municipality oppression, while principality was divesting and doing whatever they do in their importance in the world. And so far, I've been reporting to principality, my municipality stay of some sort, where I was built for other purpose, but for some reason, this is what's transpired. Wow, now this is interesting. Watch this. After her green lawn whatever, with the White House in the background, that's David Muir. This is some breaking news that they're showing on ABC. It then goes to the original looking, what they used to show at night when they had no programming.
Live at the White House, and Mary, you reported.
Let's get that. That's PMW-500. Don't know what that relates to. 00120014. It's April 8th, 2022. It is at 01. I don't know if that's what the other name for the 2 dots. It's the ... And then it's 20 ... And then it's 03 p.m. And it says Brian, BRIAN. And it's HAEFELI. For whose lie is it? Well, here we are. And there's the colors of the bars. No idea who it pertains to.
Not only on then candidate Joe Biden, who made this promise to nominate the first black woman to the court.
Now, somewhere there's gastroenterology. It's spelled GAS is the first 3 letters, so gastro, TRO. And then it's the inside entonology, or ento, whatever, which means for inside. Here is a commercial about something to do with fibroids and ecto, ECTO. Meaning that there's some kind of growth on the endo, or and that they're ecto, they're removing because it's not performing cellularly the way that the human form needs. They know about it. I mean, there's several of them within this American medical system, which really is frightening at the moment. The palliable kind. The one where they actually want to physically touch you, their doctors are not qualified, and it's really frightening.
If you got fibroids, I want to let you in on a little secret. Actually, it might be the best kept secret in the entire gynecological universe.
Gynecological universe, that is so interesting. She chooses those words at USA Fibroid Center. And it's here. There's a purple ladybug, or a violet or lavender ladybug for Lavender Palace. I'm not quite sure. And then there's this background. She's wearing this gigantic, I don't know what this is, medallion of some sort. Again, I didn't learn these. I mean, this is a beautiful medallion of some kind, but I don't know what it means.
Your doctors are going to tell you all about the ectomies. myomectomy, hysterectomy. But what they won't tell you is that there's a simple non-surgical procedure called uterine fibroid embolization, which causes the fibroids to just disappear. Visit usafibroidcenters.com or call the number on your screen today.
Meaning they don't actually have to harvest tissue samples. Because I feel, and I don't know for certain, but in my own household with my parents, there's been some harvesting of tissue and whatever that I don't really think was necessary. At times it is. I just had one done, a biopsy. That was medical necessity. He said it was changing color. But for Lynn, it really was like it felt like a chance. I don't know why but she was malinstructed as usual around here.
Children love dressing up as superheroes. Now,
Look at that. They even have a commercial for all the stolen identities to pretend to be superheroes.
now they can be vaccine heroes. Vaccination is the best way to protect against COVID-19 and save lives.
This is their new mission that they sold one another. I'm still not buying it.
Be a vaccine hero. Get vaccinated. For more information about COVID-19 vaccines for children, visit nyc.gov/COVID vaccine.
Today there was a bomb in Ukraine and it had "For the Children" written on it. It was some kind of projectile that made it to the ground. It still was intact, didn't blow up, and it had some scribbling on it. It's frightening. Here's that commercial with the Hound and the Hen.
Welcome back. Gma3, what you need to know, what you need to see. The art of, is this compromise here? Now look at this, the hatchlings and the hound. This is in Massachusetts. That's Teddy, apparently the dog there. His owner says he wouldn't rest after those chicks were born. So this was the
Massachusetts, and his name was Teddy the Hound, who insisted on looking over the chicks. And look, it's from Lauren Christensen via Storyful.
compromise was to give him a
Now
little
that
opening
looks
where
like
he could
teamwork.
enjoy the chicks. Did you say, oh, that's sweet? That's sweet. Dr. Ashton would love that, wouldn't she? Oh, we're going to have to send that to her. So she missed a good one. All right, Dr. Sutton here with us again. In for Dr. Ashton.
But there's the other two doctors are gone. It's GMA, and here we are on who's on the schedule for when this comes out. Interesting.
Dr. Ashton, we got a question here for you. How
I don't
do you
know
do
the
with
backstory.
COVID test, the at-home test? Never thought about this. Do at-home COVID-19.
Now this is interesting. Watch this banter.
So many
I don't know, is this idle chatter, idle banter? Interesting.
news. I didn't read so much news that I actually don't pick up a book that often.
That might increase your blood pressure.
Wow.
So I would say trying to separate yourself from reality. That's like me reading a medical textbook.
Okay.
So I would try to avoid it.
Really
Probably read things that are completely different from what we do every day.
That's a really good point. All right, I'm going to start reading medical textbooks, I guess. All right,
I'll start reading the newspaper.
Thank you. We're going to turn now to the UN Climate Report, calling on the world to move away from fossil fuels as soon as possible. Some Americans want to do that by moving investments away from polluting industries. But what's the best way to start? Our ABC's Elizabeth.
Now, is that pollution or pollination? Because it gets really confusing at certain language labs with certain genetic and species and classification. Like, again, gets really hairy and like a hole in time and space.
Elizabeth Schulze on what you need to know if you want to divest.
For many retirees, like 67-year-old.
Divest from what? Are they really educated? I mean, I know, like, she's a graduate level or some PhD level. I don't even know. Like, how did they get money? Like, how did they get, like, a grand lump pot of sum at some point? Like, I don't even know how to get to that level of education. It was never even presented to me. So I started already in a negative. Like, there was 0 when I was born. And then they made me go into debt, and gave me a really low-paying job to compound that, while these people were just taking their voice, their money, and being able to invest and run the world into some whatever that I was struggling to maneuver around, but not really connecting at any point with any of them, because I don't know where they go. They're like glitter in wind. It's on your palm and then all of a sudden it just disappears. Where'd that piece go? I have no idea.
7-year-old Cynthia Meyer, investment decisions are about more than making a profit.
I'm concerned about my grandchildren and the future of the planet. So setting an example was really important.
I'm afraid of getting sick or getting old, because nobody has taken care of any of the responsibilities that were set forth in some agenda and plan before I arrived. There's some whatever going on. I don't know.
Important to me.
When she recently sold her home, the Virginia-based grandmother decided to put her cash into fossil fuel-free retirement accounts.
It's never too late to make these changes, and it's something that's been in the back of my mind.
She turned
At like Jurassic Park and like gigantic T-Rex and like, did you secure the cages for the raptors and the rapture? I'm pretty sure in the movie they let it out of the bag that they did not prepare properly and the raptors got out.
turned to Roberta Keller, the founder of a female-led wealth management firm focused on environmental, social, and governance, or ESG, investing.
What does that even mean?
Why is it important for people to look at where their money is invested when they're thinking about the environment?
And how did they come upon all of this money in this organized crime unit that I was left out of? Because they took money, some lump sum, following some track that they were presented with in some kind of portfolio where they're all taking part in it, and they wouldn't allow some of us to participate in.
Money talks. It's fantastic to go to the farmer's market, and it's fantastic to buy your groceries and put them in a canvas bag, but your investments are often the biggest contributor to corporate policy.
A recent Gallup.
I have no idea what that even means. Again, I'm not at this education echelon. I don't know how they societally group themselves within the organized crime unit.
Gallup poll found 48% of Americans are interested in sustainable investing, but many don't know where to start.
It does not have to be extremely complicated and overwhelming.
Keller says the first step to decarbonizing your portfolio is talking to your financial advisor.
Now, carbon, that's interesting because you have a carbon footprint, and the word C-A-R and then B-O-N seems very French. At good, but the good came after the car? No, it didn't. Burning peat moss oil hurts their lungs as humans and their physiology.
Find out where your investments are and start small.
A little bit can go a very long way. It does not need to be completely changing your investment approach all at once.
They never tackle the issue of the forgotten and the ill-begot that are in some class so far below this that we didn't get a stipend or a lump sum to begin investment or a lifelong saving track or any participation in any program like that. They are working on some assumption that everybody got access to it, which they didn't.
Next, beware of greenwashing. Experts warn some funds claim they're environmentally friendly, but actually invest in industries like oil and gas. Websites like fossilfreefunds.org can help you screen your company's specific 401k or
No idea what that even means or how to protect myself from this level of Ponzi scheme.
retirement accounts to find their exact holdings.
Most of the assets that are out there in a traditional ETF or mutual fund have fossil fuel holdings.
Ivan Frischberg is the Chief Sustainability Officer at Amalgamated Bank, one of a handful of banks that's committed not to lend money to the fossil fuel industry. For investors looking to decarbonize their assets, he says it's important to look at your bank where your money is held too.
I've never even heard of that bank. I don't know how you start a bank. I don't know who's allowed to start a bank.
Anywhere from 5 to 8% of all the lending that these big banks do is going into this energy sector.
5 to 8% of the lending from big banks in the U.S. going into oil and gas companies.
That's right. And so that means it's sort of like 5 to 8% of your money.
I have no idea what that means. It's like he's talking either baseball or football or basketball. Might as well. It's like if I sat down and could interview and like druidically write and then humanly comprehend, I could figure my way through. But I, again, don't have access to this, and I have no access to money to participate in a way that they've all been given while this is all going on. And not only was I not given at least a track to do graduate or physician's work, being I was held in some public, whatever, lower grade municipality, there was no service available to me either. There was no like National Guard, there was no Navy, Army, Air Force, there was nothing offered, nothing presented. How was I ever, am I still able to participate in any level in this United States of America while they're here doing all sorts of stuff, running all sorts of things around the world under the good name and the like swatch or swath of cloth? It gets confusing as an ancestor of former presidents, Mount Rushmore, and so on and so forth. But yet being completely occluded for reasons I can't even fathom.
Welcome back to Gma3, folks. You know, it's our favorite time of the week here. It's our Faith Friday, and we want to welcome our next guest, who's been working tirelessly to provide physical and spiritual support to many of the refugees who have fled Ukraine and crossed the Polish border in the last month and a half.
Now, he has on his lapel, I don't know if you can see that, but they're saying the red and white is Polish and the yellow and blue is Ukraine, is what they're saying.
Chief Rabbi of Poland, Michael Shudrick. Rabbi, it is really good for you to take some time here with us, and I wonder if you can help us understand. We've seen it on television and seen millions who have fled, but what are you seeing there, and how has it gotten or changed, I should ask, over the past several weeks?
Well, thank you very much. Good afternoon. A lot has changed. Poland does not have a history in recent centuries of accepting in refugees, which is a shame. And all of a sudden, we're faced with over 2 million people in the course of a few weeks. So I was down at the border the first time just a few days after the beginning of the war, and already a certain structure was up. The refugees were being welcomed.
Down at the water. I don't understand that reference.
Welcomed. There were centers ready for them, but it still was kind of the beginning. And now it's a lot more organized, many more organizations there, and including our own organization has been there the past month, working with the refugees. And it's a very harsh reality that we know that there's no way we can do everything. Person.
And Rabbi, you make a connection with Passover and remembering the history of the Jewish people. And as you say, they're at a time where the Jewish people were refugees, and you make a connection to that history, to the current situation. I want you to put it in terms and make that connection for me.
Okay, what is Passover about? Passover is the Exodus from Egypt. That time way back when, 3,300 years ago, when we were slaves in Egypt, the 10 plagues, the Red Sea, everybody remembers it. But really what it is, it's the
Who are the slaves? Who are the Slavs, Dobrodon?
story of freedom. It's the story of how we fled for our lives out of a horrible regime, seeking freedom.
Who's the Don? Who's the Dan?
I mean, the comparison can't be clearer. These are people who are fleeing for their lives. And if anyone has any doubt about that, they really have to, look again at what's happening. All these refugees, the millions that have come across, are fleeing for their lives. Nobody left because they felt like they wanted a nicer place to live. The trip to the border, it's dangerous. The decision to leave behind part of your family. We Jews know what that means from the time of the Holocaust. Because almost everyone left somebody behind.
Well, Rabbi, of course, we have seen, and you have seen it more so than most, just the difficulty and the pain in many of those images. But on this segment, our Faith Friday guest, we always ask our guests to send us into the weekend and our viewers with a message, some kind of message of hope, inspiration, and maybe some wisdom. So I'll turn the floor over to you now.
Okay. Well, two things pop into my mind right away. Quick ones. When I was down at the border, what I started, like my own little custom, is that you're meeting people as they cross the border after they've spent who knows how many days risking their lives to cross into Poland. And so I'm giving out lollipops to all the kids, and sometimes also not to the kids. Just giving out lollipops. They should have some kind of sweet smile as soon as they know that they're finally safe. And what really incredibly moved me, almost inevitably, the mother with the 3 kids clinging to her after getting finally into safety. And mom always said, say thank you. Think about that. The mom. It doesn't matter what you went through. Your kid gets a lollipop, they have to say thank you. And for me, just was so inspiring. And then on maybe a larger scale, when we Jews here,
I taught my children, no matter what, in this environment, you always say please, you always say thank you. I, as their creation goddess or entry point to this world, or portal to this world, never told them the story that took place before I got away. I did not want that to be their burden to shoulder.
Who's here in Poland needed help 80-something years ago during the Holocaust. It was incredibly brave non-Jews that risked their lives to help us, to save us. And they're known as the righteous Gentiles among the nations. And what we learned from them is that when we Jews needed help, that these non-Jews were there to help us. And so what we need to learn is that today, now, as Polish Jews and Jews all over the world, when these refugees need help, when they need saving their lives, we have an obligation to help each and every one of them, not looking at their ethnic, religious, faith, national background. We have that obligation, just as the righteous Gentiles taught us 80-something years ago. We're here to help everyone.
Rabbi, that is a wonderful message to share and a wonderful story about the parents still, no matter what they're going through, still got some lessons to teach the kids. You still say thank you. So I want to say thank you to you, Rabbi Michael Shudwick. We appreciate you and your time and let you get back to the good work you are doing. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Have a great day and a wonderful weekend.
All right, folks. And up next, right here on Gma3, we have celebrity chef Jeffrey Zakarian. He is going to join us in studio. He's got a recipe behind his big restaurant bet.
So it is star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. It's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.